If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Whether you were picked last or if you just needed a little bit of a breather, it is the Far End of the Bench podcast. Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant here with you all. Middle of the summer, like dead heat of the summer. If you need to ask anybody, trust me, I know. I was sitting on top of a tractor in 94-degree weather all day. The only good thing about it was it was over by Chatfield State Park, so there's a lot of very nice views. It's something that I enjoy, but it has been hot, and that's why we are here bringing some sports takes. We're going to wrap up some different things. I feel like it's a good time to probably put a bow on NBA and NHL season, and then Nico's going to talk a little bit about PLL, the woods. The woods, man. We're back in the win column. It feels good. Nick, how you been doing? I know that it feels good to win, but how did everything else go last week?
Well, it was weird, obviously, working on the 4th. We had practice on July 4th and obviously played July 5th, so I did not get the holiday off, but it was fun being in Boston. Got to see the fireworks over the water there, which was very, very cool. I don't really get time to go see things when I travel to these cities, unfortunately. And if I were wanting to, the Red Sox were in town, so there's nothing really else to see there, for sports wise at least. But yeah, it was very cool. We were at Harvard University. It was fun to be around that area. Practice at Boston University. Saw the Mike Ruzioni, Jim Craig banner basically right outside the hockey arena. Where, for those that don't know, the two guys were on the Miracle team. Miracle on Ice.
Ruzioni was the captain, I believe.
Ruzioni was the captain. Craig was the goalie. Both Boston University alums. So I got to walk by that arena as we were going to practice. I got to see the arena and got to see all the cool shit they do for that. So it was very, very fitting. And obviously being on the East Coast for being in one of the founding states for July 4th is very, very cool to say the least. So yeah, like I said, it's always fun coming home with a win. I'll tell you that much though.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Before we do, make sure that you follow at FEOTB Pod, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, leave a comment, everything. We are growing. Summer's sometimes a little bit harder, but things have been going well, so please continue to do so. Tell your friends, rate 5 stars. Tell us what you want to hear, what you guys are watching during the summer as you're waiting for whatever sport that you want to watch to come back. If you're really into baseball, if you sell us hard on it, you got to give a good sales pitch.
Good for you.
Good for you, but you got to give me a good sales pitch, and your sales pitch cannot include a certain team that plays at 20th and Blake Street here in Denver, Colorado. No, I think let's just kick it off with the Woods, man. I mean, it was rough sledding to start the season. Last team to get a win on the year, but you got one. Now you know it can happen, and now this is where it's really important. Take the time because it is All-Star Weekend in the PLL schedule. If you weren't aware, they're going to be in Kentucky this weekend. But if you are not in the All-Star festivities, take the time to rest, regroup, continue to do whatever you did mentally, because it seems you seem to have broken through or found something that you can build on. Boston's a good team, and beating them in their homecoming game, first game of the weekend, I feel like there's a ton that, the guys could have looked at it and said, well, this is a shitty situation. Like 0-3 over the last 3 weeks. We had the first weekend bye, and now we're playing one of the top teams who's perennially in the playoffs. But they looked at it like a challenge, and they stepped up and delivered. So it was good to see them get back on the right side of the column.
Yeah, it helps, obviously, when you're playing a team that you're very, very familiar with. And obviously, we played them in Champ Series, played them a handful of times last year. It's a team that we've obviously had success the last 2 years over against. So it was huge to get that win when we needed one. I will say, like I said, that it's the first time that the Cannons, quote unquote, have played back at Harvard University since 2019. So 5 years when they were back in the MLL. So it was the crowd was crazy. It was a lot of fun. It really felt like you were the road team. And no offense to the other games when we were the away team, because we've only played, like I said, 4 games, and we've played 3 road games. We played against the Chaos, and we've played against, I don't know, maybe we've only played 2 road games technically where it wasn't a neutral site. And like I said, no offense to the Charlotte fans, but like the Boston fans were absolutely crazy, and the whole side of the stadium was filled to the brink, and you could hear every single You could hear every single cheer, every single fuck you. Kids were cussing at me, and with Boston fans, like, golly sucks. I heard beat LA a couple times. I was like, don't worry, we're not the LA team, we're the California team. I don't like the LA teams.
We play in San Diego,
I'm in
guys.
San Diego. I'm not an LA team, so yeah, beat LA. But heard that a couple times, heard a couple things. Guys, kids wanting balls. I was like, no, you just cussed me out. I'm not giving you a ball. Don't worry. You can sit back there and go to the other side and ask for a ball. But yeah, look, it was a very, very fun and very, very exciting win. The boys played very, very well. The boys are very, very well prepared. Nat and Junior CC had the boys prepared. Defense looked very, very good. Jack Kelly has been outstanding thus far. He's been one of the best goalies in the league, in my opinion. Save percentage wise, and the TD's been incredible thus far. And like I said, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was, you put the ball in the back of the net, good things will happen. It didn't happen the first 3 games. You put the ball in the back of the net on this past weekend, and that helped us a lot. We have that element going into games, and having already a great stand out in the goal and stand out at the face-off stripe, it helps a lot. So, like I said, the Cannons are a very, very good team, and it was like I said, I don't love them. I'm not going to sit here and add fire to fuel, but I'm not a fan of them. Never was, never will be. But yeah, so it was very, very nice to get that win and finally get back in the win column, or get in the win column.
Looking at it as an outsider to lacrosse, but just in more of a sports sense too. You guys did. I talked about it last week when we were talking about lacrosse. These are pretty low scoring games, especially when the Redwoods are playing, and that's because they haven't been able to outscore their opponent. But you guys drug them down 9-7. Boston's been scoring more goals than just 7 goals a game. That's credit to the defense. I feel like that's credit to the structure. But I would be excited if I was on the roster because we only scored 9 goals and we still got to win. We beat a pretty damn good team in a road atmosphere, and we didn't necessarily play our best offensive game. We maybe missed a few chances. Obviously, I'm not saying anything in specific, but I just feel like as a member of the team and as a fan of the Redwoods, I'm like that feels good. We played a gritty game and we could still play better.
And like I said, going into this All-Star weekend, it was huge getting a win because going in 1-3 is way different than 0-4. You look at what happened in the Western Conference and how our path to the playoffs happens now. The Outlaws lost by 15 goals. So that helps our goal differential big time if we do get into a tiebreaker situation. So that helps us. So like I said, if we're able to string some wins together and get back on track to where we can be in the playoff picture, hunt for the 2 seed, hunt for the 1 seed in this Western Conference. That's, no offense, a little bit weaker than the Eastern Conference, especially with the Atlas being on the tear that they are. It's huge. It's huge for us to get this momentum, and now into next weekend where we're in lovely Fairfield, Connecticut, with throwback weekend. If we can string a win against a Western Conference opponent in the Archers, then you're looking at a complete turnaround, and the boys will be ready and excited to get things back rolling. Like I said, it was very great timing for All-Star weekend for us because we could use a break, and you coming off a win, it gives you some momentum, so it helped.
No, it's a huge thing for them, and you see the momentum, and now you're able to try and harness that. Not to slouch on the Cannons, I feel like they deserve a little bit of credit because after losing the opening game of the weekend to the Redwoods, they were able to bounce back, and they beat the Water Dogs 14-10. We were kind of saying it like you look for a split, and you're hoping that your first game is the win. When you have to come back and make the second game your win to still split that weekend, it's still successful. So, yeah, it sucks that you lost. And you didn't go 2-0 because you had a real possibility if you did, but you at least still got 1 win out of the weekend, and you beat a team in the Water Dogs who was in the championship last year, even though I know that they're struggling. Like Philadelphia. Ugh.
For whatever reason, the Water Dogs the Cannons have the Water Dogs number, and it goes back to Champ Series, goes back into the season, goes back into last season. Congratulations, Water Dogs! You have embodied the city of Philadelphia, and Boston owns you. That's the unfortunate part about it. But the Water Dogs are a damn good team. They can go on and run very quickly. They have the same amount of wins as us. Things could change quickly. Don't get me wrong, but it's very difficult. Very, very difficult to play in the Eastern Conference where you're already 0-2 against the second best team. The number 1 team looks like they're going to have the number 1 seed and the bye locked up by fucking week 8, and by the time we come back here, or by the time we even get to California, so it could be locked up by then. And by that point, you're just testing testing the rest of the Eastern Conference and testing who's the other 14. It's the Canyons, it's the Atlas,
in the Eastern, it's the Canyons,
Conference.
Atlas, Whipsnakes, and Water Dogs.
Whipsnakes, who obviously had a bad loss against the Archers this past weekend, but they look like they're just as good as they had been in the past. So it's winner, it's do or die time, especially for the Warriors, as opposed to us, where the Western Conference, it's a little bit more even. It's a little more weaker now, as opposed to the East, where it's very, very top heavy. And if you're at the bottom, you're gonna have to scratch and claw your way back up. It could be problems for the Water Dogs, but yeah, the Cannons having ownership over them is unfortunate for you, for the fans.
New York is just making things look so easy. They have a scoring differential of plus 28. They are 5-1. And absolutely dominated what was the number one team in the Western Conference going into the weekend. They are no longer the number one team in the Western Conference. The Archers are now 3-2. So as it stands now, they would be. It's so early. It's kind of ridiculous to say, but they would be in the playoff picture if necessary from the Western Conference. But New York just took it to what we knew was a bad team. Like, they had the number one overall pick for a reason coming off of last season, and it was great for the first couple weekends. It's starting to become real. What do we see in the CU season? Oh yeah, those first 4 weeks of Dion Mania was really crazy, but then that lack of depth started to show, and you can't keep up with the big dogs when it gets to week 3, 4, and 5.
That was a brutal showing, and I think the Atlas being good adds to it. I don't think it was necessarily all the Outlaws. I will say the Outlaws made a massive move, in my opinion, and for those that grew up in the state of Colorado and watched the cross, played the cross, or whatever, you'll know this name. It's because the kid went to Arapahoe, or not the kid, but he's a grown-ass man now. But he went to Arapahoe High School, went to DU, and played and won two championships with the Outlaws in the MLL, and that's Eric Law. Eric Law was just released by the Atlas. He was a guy that was replaceable. Obviously, they brought in Schellenberger, Dixon, and they have T, who's the best player in the world right now, and obviously arguably the MVP favorite. And there's no room for the ex-attackman Eric Law. Well, you bring Eric Law back home after the Atlas release him, bring him back to Denver, Colorado, bring him back to the Outlaws colors, and he gets to now be the quarterback at X that they were missing. Zawada has been kind of just thrown back there. I think he could be better off in the wing at the attack position, but now you have 15 and orange and black back in Denver. So that's very, very exciting for an Outlaws fan. Like I said, the guy who grew up here, he has a lot of great things for the youth program, lacrosse programs here in Colorado, and seeing him back with the Denver team is very, very cool to see at least. So unfortunately, it's not with my team because I think he's a hell of a guy, and I've gotten to meet him a couple times. He's very nice, but the Outlaws fans, you have to be very, very excited to see 15 and back 15 Eric Law back at X, and I think that will help open everything up for Brandon O'Neill. I saw the statistic where Brandon O'Neill touched the ball 8 times. Your number one pick touches the ball 8 times. Your goalie touches the ball 18 times, and you're not, like, whether you're getting your ass kicked or not. That should never happen. That never happened with how no offense, how stagnant your offense was last year. You need to rely on the number one pick, and to have him touch the ball 8 times, Eric Law, I guarantee you, will make sure he does not touch the ball less than 15 times a game. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So, Alice fans, yeah, it was a tough loss this past weekend, but you have things to look forward to this coming weekend. That's for sure.
I like when Niko gets going about lacrosse and he's going to quarterback the X and like get into all the different things. And I just sit here like he's speaking Chinese because it's not second nature to me whatsoever, but it makes sense getting a guy that's familiar back in front of a franchise that needs it. And it's a new brand in the league. So it's good for that.
And for those new fans of pro lacrosse and everything, if you go back and watch that MLL championship with Ohio Machine versus Denver Outlaws in 2016, Eric Law sealed the game-winning goal with 12 seconds left to win the MLL championship. And that was one of the best games of all time. And like I said, it's a fun one to go back and watch. So if you're that bored and you're done watching baseball and Shark Week is over this week for you, go throw that game on, because it's an oldie, but it's a goldie. And Eric Law was the leader of that team with a lot of familiar Outlaw faces on that team too. So it's cool to see him back there.
I'll have to give that a watch in between new rounds of video games on the new machine. And then also I've been trying to get caught up on the boys, but that's difficult to go through that quickly because there's some pretty horrific things that happen. Not to get too far off topic, but there's a couple times where I'm sitting there and I just pause it.
I
done.
just finished season 2, so I'm on 3 now as well. So I started it, and it's the same.
It's hard. It's slow.
Pause. It is very, very hard. There are some hard parts about it. So yeah.
And all I've seen is it just keeps getting worse. I unfortunately some of it gets
don't spoil anything. But yeah, there's some things that get worse and worse. So.
Oof. Okay. Back on track. Last game of the weekend, the Archers, I already mentioned, they take over number 1 spot in the Western Conference now. They're 3-2. They get a win over the Whipsnakes 16-11. Is this something that you see the Archers sticking around? Are they going to keep that top spot in the Western Conference? You've already said that it's kind of weaker. So give us the sales pitch on why Utah has a chance to be a playoff team this year.
Well, I mean, they're still the reigning champions, and they still have a lot of returning players. They just got Graham Hossack back at the defensive end. I talked about that last week, and their offense is still one of the best offenses in the league. That's not even close with who they have out there. And when Dobson is playing at his best, the Archers are still one of the best teams in the league. I would be very surprised if the Archers aren't a playoff team and aren't a team that is a team that's playing in the second weekend of the playoffs. To be honest with you, with a chance to play in the championship, that's how good they are. So I like I said, it doesn't surprise me at all. I expected a little bit more from the Whips after their great performance in Minnesota, and they kind of fell off a little bit. So maybe that's something that they have to be cautious of going forward, and maybe it was more the Archers exposing the weaknesses, or maybe it's the Whipsnakes just weaknesses being that heavy. Who knows? But I do think the Archers are a damn good team, so I would not be surprised if they weren't in the playoffs. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't really get a second to watch much of this game, but I was not surprised with the outcome.
Moving forward to this weekend, it is taking place in Louisville, Kentucky, Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium, East versus West All-Stars. It'll be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. The skills competition will be at 11:15 on ESPN Plus, and then the game is at 1. In this All-Star game, I guess what are we going to expect from All-Star Weekend? Because it's new, it's different. I've never been, but
I'm not going. Well, I'm not there also, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's the NBA, same as the NBA NHL. Like no offenses. Like it's the greatest players in the world. I think I'll say this. The same thing with the NBA is the skills competitions almost overtake everything. Because last year it was the 121-mile-per-hour shot by Jared Newman, the world record for fastest lacrosse shot on net that he broke, which was sick. But it was the fun antics of the shootout goals of creativity wise. Sometimes that overlaps it, but like I said, unfortunately, there isn't anything to play for. It's just guys out there having a good time and not trying to get hurt and just show off one-handed stuff, good sticks. Look, if you tune into this game, it's not going to be. It may be competitive at the end of the game. That's how the NBA is. But if you're looking to see some of the craziest stick skills, some of the stupidest, ungodly things that you'll ever see on a lacrosse field, tune into the All-Star game, because the All-Star game will give you that. It will absolutely give you that. The one-handed goals, the goalies going coast to coast, the in between the legs shot that Connor Fields had the other past week is unbelievable. Number 1 player on ESPN, went top shelf with in between his legs. That will happen in the All-Star game. All these things that you expect fireworks from, you will see absolutely insane stick handles and cool trick plays, all that kind of stuff in this All-Star game. So it should be fun to watch.
All right, and it leads nicely into the prelims of the UFC card that's coming up. Big UFC happening in Denver. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the show. So if you're tuning in for lacrosse, or if you're tuning in for the fight talk that we'll get to, that will be coming up a little bit later on. All-Star Weekend happening in the PLL. Let's move over, and we're kind of going to wrap up some things, but I also have some different controversies. That's like the best thing about driving around in the work truck is I get to listen to local radio. Sometimes they have interesting takes. Sometimes it's like that is just you're just speaking to speak because you need to fill radio time. And I know I get it. It's not like I haven't said things that I don't really necessarily agree with, but this one I feel like has legs because we didn't really get to address it in the immediate aftermath. But Jamal Murray has the max offer on the table right now from the Denver Nuggets. I believe it's around $250 million. Did not receive first or second team All-NBA status last year, so it's not as high as it could have been. He's in that next tier down. There's a chance that he maybe doesn't sign a contract this season, takes a chance, has one of the best years of his life, and is eligible to make that Supermax by making an All-NBA team. And a lot of people are thinking that Jamal Murray is not happy with the Denver Nuggets, with the way that they've kind of mishandled all of the media relations, going back to his initial injury when Tim Connolly was here as the GM, and he said, well, Jamal physically is ready to play. I get what you're doing, and maybe there was a point to it. It's not necessarily, it's like it's a taboo. You can't do that as somebody in the team. And Calvin Booth saying, he was a little bit out of shape, and Anthony Edwards exposed him. Okay, again, behind closed doors, I feel like that's all fair because you're a professional athlete. You're making millions of dollars. I know that there's people that are going to come after me for saying that it's over the top and it's overkill and it's probably affecting the situation. But I think that that's where Jamal Murray's at. Why would I want to play for somebody who I know does not have my back and is willing to sell me down the river at the first sign of trouble?
That's look. To be completely frank with you, and like I said, I am going to sit here and be on record. I'd be very surprised if Jamal Murray doesn't sign a long-term deal either this season or next season. And just flat out, I look, Jamal Murray will be a Denver Nugget lifer unless this team finds a trade for a number 77 over there in Dallas or a big-time player somewhere else that Jokic wants to play with. Jamal Murray and Jokic will not be separated. I can almost guarantee that. And look, it's there's replaceable people in this organization, and there's not replaceable people. There's one irreplaceable person in his whole fucking franchise, and his say matters over everybody's. Everybody's. And it is number 15 in the big fella from Sombor, Serbia. If you look at what this team did in free agency, what did Jokic go out and say? I want Dario Saric. Dario Saric signed. Also, he was the big target for the Nuggets that Jokic wanted. Dario Saric comes in. We sign him. He's been an absolute killer for Croatia in the FIBA World Qualifiers. He's been dropping double after double. He's going to be a great backup bench piece, center power forward position. Jokic went out and said, I want him. Jokic went out and said, I need another versatile big. Went out, traded up to go get De'Ron Holmes. People forget. Got your guy. Jokic is very, very clear, and same with DeAndre Jordan, that they feel Russell Westbrook could be a valuable asset to this team. People in the media, including myself, think that Russell Westbrook's done and that he has basically no use to any team. But if Jokic says something, things will go that way. If you think for 1 second, you national media motherfuckers that are just going to sugarcoat it, that he's upset, that Jamal Murray says, I want to go play somewhere else without Jokic, you're absolutely high. Okay, is all I'm going to say. Calvin Booth is replaceable. We just saw it with Tim Connolly. Calvin Booth didn't create this team. Tim Connolly did. He added a few pieces that got off to the hump. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't create this team. Tim Connolly did. Michael Malone, as much as I love him, is the next most replaceable person. And then it goes Jamal Murray, as far as I'm concerned. And the drop off between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone and Jamal Murray and that next tier of players, it's a massive, 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 massive drop off. And as far as I'm aware, I am almost convinced, and I have this on good authority because the relationship Jamal Murray has in the locker room and the level of fire he has in the players in the team and building the young guys up. That if Jamal Murray wanted extra money, this team would trade Michael Porter Jr. away and try to see what you can get in return just to pay Jamal Murray more money. And look, we're not at that point yet. We still have money to give, and we have that opportunity to give Jamal that money. But like I said, when you play with the best player in the world and you play in a stacked Western Conference that has 5 or 6 point guards that are all-star caliber players and all NBA caliber players, that's just the way you live. Like let's not forget, the West has Shea, John Morant, Steph Curry, who else? James Harden, Luka Doncic. You go down the list of guards, and don't get me wrong, Jamal's won a championship. He absolutely has won a championship. But unfortunately, is like he's not going to get the single recognition over these guys because his regular season is not always that great. But what did I say during the playoffs of last year? There's not one person I'd want more. There's only one person in this world I want more in my lineup to close a game out than Nikola Jokic, and that's Jamal Murray. There's the only two on this earth, and that's how good they are in the clutch. That's how good they are. We saw it with the Jamal Murray dagger in the fourth quarter over AD to win the game over the Lakers. Don't get me wrong. Could he have had a better series versus Minnesota? Yeah, he could have. But I can keep harping on Minnesota was built to beat us, and that was showed in the Western Conference Finals. Okay, they're built to beat us, and that's the fact of the matter is. I expect Jamal Murray to be a Nugget lifer, and like I said, unless something crazy happens, look, talk about the Broncos, national media. Figure something else to talk about. Do not touch my fucking golden child. Okay, this is the only.
This is not national media. This is people that are around the team.
I know.
And I think that it's
local. It's local. It's local shit. And it's local. Just calm the fuck down and stop causing drama that's not needed. It's not.
I would say the same thing to Calvin Booth right now. Like, what you don't have just be. You should know in this situation.
You were inherited a championship roster.
Shut your mouth. Quit telling your third, I'll say second to third best player that he's fat and he's out of shape and that this guy torched him. You don't think that he knows that? Of course he knows that.
Upsets him? Yeah, absolutely upset him. And like I said, Jamal, look, I have all faith in Jamal. That's why I'm not hesitant at all to say Calvin Booth is fucking gone, as good as gone if Jamal Murray doesn't figure something out. Because I know the Cronkies over there believe in Jamal Murray, believe in Michael Malone more than they do Calvin Booth. You look at the pecking order of who makes decisions out of there. You know what the order is. It's Michael Malone, the pecking order of who makes decisions. It goes like this. It is Nikola Jokic, number 1. It is the Cronkies, number 2. It is number 3, Michael Malone. It's number 4, Jamal Murray /AG/Michael Porter Jr. And then number 5, it goes to Calvin Booth. Like that's the pecking order of who gets the most respect and who makes the most decisions. That's just the way things go, and that's the way we're built, unfortunately. Like I said, look, the NBA is different than the NHL, different than the NFL, different than the MLB, in this way of where, yeah, the best motherfucker on the team should make the decisions. Because, unfortunately, we're not going to ever see a better player than Nikola Jokic suit up for our team. So, son, or Mr. Big Honey, whatever you want. You want Jamal Murray around? Jamal Murray stays. You want us to trade Jamal Murray for your butt buddy from Slovenia over there in Dallas? We'll do that for you. Whatever you need, you do it. Plain and simple. And right now, the relationship Jamal Murray and the relationship that him and Nikola Jokic have together is unmatched, and like I said, it trumps everything that the front office in general can even produce. And like I said, Calvin Booth better watch his mouth because the motherfucker sat on his hands the first week of free agency. He did two good things.
And then he flew around the world to go have a secret meeting with Jokic when he said that he's going over to recruit Darich and watch Flacco.
Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Is all I'm going to say. But look, you got brought in Sarge. You're more than likely going to get Russ. If you don't get Russ, I'm going to be very upset that your backup point guard situation is Jalen Pickett. So you're probably going to get Russ. Like I said, just got to figure out Jamal's situation. You don't need to fuck this up. Just do whatever 1-5 asks of. That's all I'm asking. Because if you continue fucking this up, it's not Jokic's ass out the door. It's not Michael Malone's ass out the door. It shouldn't be Jamal Murray's ass out the door. It's going to be yours.
By the way, I don't want it to sound like I want Jamal Murray to leave or I think that he's going to. And I've actually heard now the same people that were trying to make this a thing have said that his reports are he's probably going to have it signed by at least the end of the Olympics, if not before.
Like he's got a lot going on. Like let's not forget.
Yeah. Canada just got torched by us last night. Oh, sorry.
I wouldn't say torched. I would say that the second half it became more of a barn burner, but let's not forget Canada did have the lead up until halfway through the second quarter. So, and look, if you want to segue into the Olympics, we can next. But look, Team Canada's roster is very good, but I saw a lot of holes in this Team USA team. There's a lot of holes in this Team USA team, and there's a lot of guys.
Is KD not being in going to be that big of an factor?
Okay, no, KD will play. I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't.
Who just
play.
dropped out? Somebody just dropped out.
It's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard dropped out.
Of course. Why would I have thought anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Load Management. If you were to get
Brian of the NBA,
I mean, you could go on a tangent about Kawhi Leonard. I'm sure Clippers fans hate him even more than we do. But yeah, look, the Kawhi Leonard decided not to go, and the Clippers said it was their decision. Grant Hill, who's the president of player operations for USA Basketball said it was their decision. It's a he said, she said. Doesn't seem like it's anybody really happy about it. I will say, I don't think they replaced him with the best player, but they replaced him with a Colorado kid. So at the same time, cool to see Derek White. Derek White is going to be Derek. So Derek White, legend, the legend grad and also CU grad, will be representing Colorado in the Olympics as well as much of a. I think we had the third most Olympians at the Summer Olympics. I think it's 41 we had. Obviously, a lot of people live in the Springs for it, but still pretty cool. And like I said, Derek White. I think you could have picked at least 5 different players, at least 7 different players that could have filled that position. Paul George, Jaylen Brown. I mean, you could go down a list of guys, Aaron Gordon, that you could choose over Derek White to replace Kawhi Leonard and replace someone of that stature. But the guy did win a championship, so I don't know. I find it interesting because there's a lot of drama in the NBA X world, NBA Twitter world, of why Jaylen Brown wasn't the next one selected when he just won a Finals MVP, when he outplayed Jason Tatum, who's on the roster, or when Derek White was the guy who replaced him on the bench when he needed a breather, and he wasn't the guy selected. Like I said, interesting. It's just interesting. Not my cup of tea. Maybe Donovan Mitchell could have been that guy. Or Cleveland fans, I know our Cavs fans over there in Cleveland thought Donovan Mitchell could have been that extra person. Look, I'm not mad because Colorado kid's in there. It's cool to see. But I think that there was better options, is all I'm going to say, because there are some holes in this team that they're going to have to figure out. I mean, it is bad. It's bad.
They're going to qualify though, right? Because they've
already qualified. This is I mistaked it. I think it was like I don't know the qualifications off the top of my head.
Here's the thing, though. I didn't hear anything about whether or not they've qualified going into this whole.
I think it's either the last FIBA world champion or the last Olympic gold medalist get an automatic bid or something along those lines.
It's how it works in most of the other sports, so that makes sense. But I mean, it's. I don't have that much of a memory of those LeBron's teams, but I get a similar when I watch the Redeem Team documentary. It's what those teams were like. Oh, we're just gonna like we gave him enough shit when we played against him. But Anthony Edwards making everybody come in and shake his hand as they walk in. Like, this team did not win with giant egos. This team won when they played like a team and they actually stood up for each other.
It's way different than the Redeem Team, because when you look at that team with Kobe, LeBron, and Melo, and all in their primes like that, they all.
LeBron was a 2-time bronze medalist before that. I'm just saying.
That's just a 1-time bronze medalist. We
world championships too.
Okay, no one fucking counts those.
That's why I called it. You didn't get LeBron's.
Okay, but look. Let me show the glaring holes. First off, Steve Kerr, I'm sorry. This is not the Golden State Warriors. We cannot play a small ball lineup. I'm sorry. I cannot see Drew Holiday running my small forward position if KD can't go. It should not happen. It should not happen. It shouldn't be fucking happening. Okay? You're too talented to do that. Okay? I'm sorry. You're too talented. Second off, I expect, and I'd be very surprised if this starting lineup wasn't won through, and maybe Steve Kerr wants some defense in there, but I would highly doubt that this guy can't play defense. But I think your starting lineup needs to be Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and dare I say this, it needs to be Anthony Davis. Look, Joel Embiid is a fucking liability. He is a liability in the world game. The man played 12 minutes, Jimmy. You know how many fouls he had? 5. He fouled out. 12 minutes.
He's an international born player.
He had. I know. It was funny seeing the graphic of hometown somewhere in Cameroon. I'm like, oh, Cameroon, suburb of Los Angeles, California. Look, Joel Embiid is liability, and this foul baiting shit is not going to work in the FIBA games. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. It will not fly. And Joel Embiid better figure his fucking ego out and just get fucking rebounds. Because Anthony Davis, as much shit as I give him about the Lakers, he's played on the Olympic stage. He knows that he can be an inside presence defensively way more than an Embiid. Way more. It's not even close, the defensive wise. And Anthony Davis is a little bit faster, a little bit quicker up and down the court. And Joel Embiid is just slowing down. So look, Embiid's a great player. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. I know he's a great player, but the motherfucker is. I give a lot of credit to Philly fans trying to defend him, because I watched him one game rooting for Team USA against my Jamal Murray on the other side. I was like, how the fuck do you defend this motherfucker? This is disgusting to watch. I was like, I'm gonna throw up. I was like, Steph Curry pulling threes. Yeah, let's go, Steph. Crazy thinking about that. LeBron James going down fast break. Hell yeah. Anthony Edwards cooking. Shai Alexander. Absolutely, sign me up. Joel Embiid foul baiting against Kelly Olynyk and fucking I forgot who DJ Powell. I'm like, you're how big? You're one-time MVP and you are foul baiting against a team that you're far inferior in size. Like, I was just disgusted. I was utterly disgusted. It's very, very bad. And like I said, I want to see this team take the next step. I'm very excited to see Steph and LeBron play together and KD. I think that lineup could be very deadly. If they want to stagger in some defense and maybe have some more scoring off the bench, then I'd consider Anthony Edwards off the bench and put Drew Holiday as a second guard and have Drew Holiday run with Steph Curry, because that way you have a defensive guard out there with you. But Team Canada is one of the honestly more promising teams. Jamal Murray, Shai Alexander obviously being the lead of it, and RJ Barrett out there. A very young team, very fun team to watch, and they looked like they've been playing for a couple of weeks together, playing simple, as opposed to the USA team that started playing together 4 days before the game on Wednesday night. So as this team builds more chemistry, we'll see. Like I said, I don't hate Devin Booker, I don't hate Joel Embiid, but I need, like I said, you have to take a step back, like plain and simple. Like this team doesn't have. Look, there's dogs that are barking. They're hungry back there. Devin Booker and Joel Embiid, you just don't have that dog in you. You don't. I'm sorry, you don't. Like, you can talk shit all you want, but when it's going to get tough, your shit gets going. Is all I'm going to say. Okay, so you have to play second fiddle to Anthony Edwards, KD, and LeBron, and have to look. Like I said, Anthony Davis being that second big, or being the big in the starting lineup. Like, there's not going to be a lot of teams that can match up defensively with this team in general, but I cannot see Drew Holiday or Derek White playing the three anymore. Your team is too big. Your team's too strong. And if you want to throw Tatum in there, fine, whatever. But your team is too big and too strong to just play a small ball lineup. You can't be doing that. I'm sorry, Steve Kerr. You're not the fucking 2016 Warriors or 2017 Warriors or fucking Draymond's playing the center, okay? We can't be doing that.
Before, we're obviously going to have an Olympic preview because that's coming up here in a few weeks. So we'll talk about this again. But as you've been watching this team, is this a good enough roster to be an Olympic champion? This is gold medal.
Look, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Tyrese Halliburton, Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis are coming off your bench. That lineup wins an NBA championship. Okay, this team is by far away good enough. I am excited to see how the French look. I think the French are going to be very good with Wemby and Gobert. I'm excited to see how Spain looks again. Canada is obviously very intriguing. Greece, obviously, with Giannis taking the lead. There's some intriguing teams. There's going to be some intriguing teams, and see, because like I said, the game has become such a worldwide game. It's helped a lot, but. Like I said, in our pool play, Australia is always pretty good. Our pool play, first game in the Olympics is Nikola Jokic versus Team USA. If Jokic decides to go, which more than likely he will be playing Team USA in the first game of the Olympics. So that should be very, very exciting. But it'd be very difficult to see this team not come out of the pool play. It's very difficult to see this team not be in the World Gold Medal game. If they are, it's a colossal failure. Colossal. And I mean fucking colossal failure. Plain and simple.
I'm excited for all of that coming up. It's a great time to look and see what other sports are popular internationally. I've been watching that sprint show that they put on Netflix too, and it's getting me excited for rooting for Team USA, whoever happens to be wearing a Team USA jersey, even though I need to swallow my pride. Cameroon is not a suburb of the United States. Why isn't he on the Cameroonian team? Is there not a Cameroonian team? Is that something?
There is. Don't worry.
Then that's where he should be playing. But that's just me. That's just one.
The man is championship chasing. Remember, he needs to win something.
And because of that, that's why I have very bad feelings about what possibly going to happen.
And look, I just ate my fucking pride. I said Anthony Davis should be starting over him. You know how much shit I gave Anthony Davis for the whole playoff run and during the regular season? I gave him a lot of shit. But I know Anthony Davis and how good he is on the world stage of his versatility and defensively, offensively. And Joel Embiid just doesn't have that dog. Anthony Davis, when he wants it, has that dog. And like I said, I'd love to see. That's why I think AD should be in the starting lineup.
All right. Moving forward, we were going to talk about this more. I think I'll just address it because honestly, I have no idea what it's going to do, if anything. It does sound like a little bit more of like a legal ploy to get out in front of something. But Nichuskin recently was back in the news, not for anything that he did, but he went on and did an interview about his incident. This was prior to the season, but we now finally got it. It was with a Russian media source. Not sure what exactly the paper was, but in the interview, he basically said, I was not removed from the team in Seattle because of the incident involving the woman in my room that had nothing to do with me. I knew that I wasn't going to play the rest of that round. That was a team decision. I had shoulder bursitis. I was getting injections. They weren't working. I couldn't sleep. Like, tell me that you are trying to cover up for something more by throwing out all of these reasons as to why it's okay I did what I did. Whatever.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to, like I said, I've seen the videos of him or the pictures of him and getting better, getting help. He's been to a couple mosques and been a couple of ritual things and I hope he is getting better. But like I said, I don't know. Cool. I'm not going to look into too much of that. I'm more important of what the future looks like because the past is what's eating him up, and that's the thing that just keeps biting him in the ass. So if anything, cool. I'm not taking much into it. What's next and what's the next thing in store? Because as far as I'm aware, I'm looking to 24, 25, and what Valeri Nichuskin can bring this team if he is still around. Because I could give less than two fucks about what happened in 2023 at this point. At this point, that happened. It's done. He played a whole season, nearly a whole season. Sorry, he played around 40 games. Played in the playoffs, was very good, and then the same shit happened. As far as I'm concerned, we need to move on from the past and look toward the future because that's the only way. Like I said, this team is very good with Nichuskin and Landeskog in the lineup. The team is still struggles depth wise without them in the lineup. So, cool, sweet, don't care. Please get better. Please figure everything out so that we can talk about this team being back in a cup final, possible chance. Come June, come May, next year.
It's definitely something, especially because the source, I don't know what that, who knows? Everything is probably already out there that's going to be involved in this situation. And now the only thing that's left is what he's going to do in order, because he still has to be reinstated. And if he gets reinstated, Avalanche have turned down trade offers. I believe the Stars and the Blackhawks were both interested in trying to get him away from the Avalanche, and they said no. If this thing rides out, if it works, he's going to be playing for us. So.
That's also the two last places you trade him to.
Well, yeah,
I'm just saying. He's that good. He's that good, and you're going to trade him to an in division rival. That's
and I was going to say something, but I decided I'm not going to say it. I had my flash clutch kick in, and I'm just going to leave that upstairs. But the Avalanche, only real big news that's changed since last week when we talked about all the signings was that Cal Ritchie, the first overall pick for the Avalanche last year, did sign his entry-level contract. So we're going to see him for at least 9 games, which I was listening to other shows and getting some other opinions. Hockey prospects are like foreign to me. We don't live in Canada, so I don't get to watch World Juniors. I don't have access to watching all of these guys.
Yeah.
I do know that at some point with the team that you have, we've been saying F them picks, F them prospects. You don't need anybody. It would be nice to see like this if this guy works out, if Cal Ritchie works out, because he did have a great year last year and he's been playing in the OHL. He's playing for the Oshawa 67ers, I believe, which is like really teeny. You only know them if you play the NHL hockey game. And he had a great season. If he comes in and he shows, hey, he's progressing, I don't think that he's going to be good enough to prove to this organization that he has to stay there, especially because of what we just talked about. Like Landeskog and Val, if they come back, Cal Ritchie's just not going to be on this roster. The way the entry-level contracts work, he has 9 opportunities to play for your club, and in those 9 opportunities, you're going to get a chance to say, oof, let's go back to playing the 18, 19, 20-year-old kids in the OHL, get your confidence back because that was rough. Or, hey, you showed promise, you showed progress, and maybe next year we can maybe look at something. I just feel like this is a situation where you slow cook it. Like I don't necessarily want to see Cal Ritchie for more than 9 games in an Avalanche sweater this year.
Well, like I said, it'd be important to develop Richie, and I think it's be important to develop Kovalenko. I think both of those guys being developed will make the burden of when Landeskog retires eventually. It could be sooner rather than later. When Mikko Rantanen's contract comes up here shortly, let's not forget that that's going to be a overlying thing here in a couple of years. There's some things that you're going to have to make some decisions on, and if you don't have young guys that can fill in that role, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. And it's not, fuck them picks it's fun to say. It's a cool little saying. But reality, like when you want to optimize, look, we want a championship. When you want to optimize a championship window with Makar and McKinnon, you need to have depth because when you're a good team, you lose good players. It's just the way. That's just what happens. Lost Burkowski, lost Kadri, lost Kemper, go down the list of guys that we lost because we won. And you have to develop young guys to take that next step. And if they don't develop, that's when you unfortunately fall back and you don't win more championships. I keep saying this, keep going back to the NBA with this, but like the Warriors, why did they win the championship 3 years ago? It's because they had Jordan Poole. They had these young guys play for them, step up with the veterans still there. Kevon Looney, guys that they drafted, that they stored, that they weren't high picks, but that they drafted and created into these monsters, and they were able to win a championship at the end, quote unquote, of their dynasty run when everyone thought it was already done. So if you want to come back to the mountaintop, you have to be able to develop these young guys and have them be on the level of where your star players are at right now, because you're not going to be able to keep everyone for so long.
Yeah, I feel like best case scenario, he's Wyatt Johnston, Logan Stankoven, a guy that just comes in and he's you have no other choice than to add him in.
If he becomes Wyatt Johnston, my God, we have a fucking.
If he becomes Wyatt Johnston, Joe Sakic gets a statue tomorrow.
Yeah. He should have a statue, but yes,
yes, he should. But that's if that can happen, that's what I want there. But I think worst case scenario, or at least what I want worst case scenario to be, hopefully, is maybe a Nicholas Aube-Kubel. Like thinking back to that Cup team, he was scratched he was scratched sometimes, he was in sometimes, but when he was there, as long as you didn't notice him and he didn't like give up a terrible chance or anything like that, that was all that you needed. This is not a super highly touted. This is not Sidney Crosby or Connor Bedard where you're like, okay, come in, score 40 goals. Cal Ritchie's not going to be able to do that. Not very many people are able to do that. Like you have 2 on your roster right now that can legitimately say 40s in reach, and both those guys still have to go on absolute tears in order to do it. So it's not a bad thing to rely on some depth and see what you have. But this is by no means going to be like, I am not expecting a firework here. I'm expecting a crock pot. Like let's let that simmer. And especially if you need anything else, look around to the other teams that are in, hell right now because they tried to rush a rebuild. Calgary is selling everybody. 2 years ago, they were bringing in Kadri to be an anchor on a possible Stanley Cup.
Ottawa did that too 4 years ago, 5 years ago. They're still trying to rebuild after they went in on Carlson, went on Duchesne. Yeah, like I said, we can make smart moves. And with Val missing the first 16 games because of the 6-month suspension, I would not be surprised if we saw him one of the opening day lineups or on one of those first road trips or first homestands. Not be surprised at all.
I believe it was the back-to-back against Ottawa would be if he plays from the start of the season. That would be the last time that he's available before we have to change up his contract. Which, here's the thing about the Avalanche organization: when you go down in this organization, it's not like they do want you to dominate and they will let you play well. But this coaching staff is not just going to let you get away with bad things. They are trying to develop. They want to win games, but the AHL affiliate is there to develop also. And the Eagles are one of the best organizations to understand that. Like they're always competitive and they're always keeping guys down there that can make sure that they can win. But if somebody's there to help the big club, I'm not holding somebody back just to make sure that I can win some not meaningless, but some less meaningful championship down at this level when it could work out other ways. So I have trust and faith in this Avalanche organization. Here's my question, because we are talking about kind of the wrap up of the season. Is there a way that you would lose? if this next upcoming season happens and it is a total catastrophic, like the window, it's still a possibility that window slams shut and it's just not happening this season. Is there something that can make you lose faith in this organization to where something drastic has to change? Or is this going to be probably pretty status quo from what we've seen over the last few years? Because this is still a very successful organization, even though you've had a couple early exits.
I have all the faith in the world in Zach McFarland. The biggest thing that would give me the biggest headache, and I think that would give this organization the biggest headache if they didn't do anything, is if Nichuskin comes back and the same thing happens a third year in a row, and they just let it happen. I think that's the one thing where I start losing faith. That's the nail in the coffin for me. And that's the if you don't trade him, you don't get rid of him now, I don't trust you anymore. That's the biggest thing, because everything else they've done with this team, especially this offseason, I've been very, very impressed with, and I'm very, very excited to see how these pieces come in. But that's look, if we have round 3 of him missing a playoff run, yeah, that's the losing my faith in McFarland and Zach. Like I said, that's a catastrophic thing to happen too. Like that's pretty like I have a lot of faith in this team. I have a lot of faith in both teams that play a ball arena. But like it has to be catastrophic for these teams to do it. And Nichuskin, I think that's the fucking nail in the coffin. Like that should be that he should never play another second in this organization. If you're giving him a third chance, which you already, or a second or a third chance, which you already are, or whatever, it's third or fourth chance, which you already are, seems like, then I start to question. Is all I'm going to say, because that contract could have been moved, you could have bought him out after due to contract breach, and you could have tried to pick somebody else up, if I'm being honest with you, and could have optimized this McCarr and McKinnon era more. So that's the one thing that would be a quote unquote Triple H vote no confidence.
Well, you're out of your damn mind. If Val Nichuskin's reinstated, it's not like he's playing the day or two after he officially clears and is back as an NHL player. I feel like the Avalanche are going to send in their own doctors, psychologists, team personnel. The coaches are going to talk to him. McFarland will talk to him. They'll talk to the people that are around him. This is not going to be like, oh yeah, we trust that you're getting better. When you're back here, we're going to make sure, did you follow these steps? Is there another issue on the horizon? And if you see something happening, it's time to start. I feel like that's why you wait, because you don't want to bring him back and maybe he's fine off the ice, but his on ice level has dropped. You don't want to expose that. You kind of got to be strategic about this too. If you are not going to keep him around, you have to keep this hype, because remember, he was still the second leading goal scorer in this entire postseason, and he stopped playing in the second round of the damn playoffs.
He had more goals than the Conn Smythe winner had. Let's not forget, more goals Connor McDavid had. And McDavid played 3 whole series more.
And you're not going to get a better chance to trade a guy if you put him back out on the ice and something is faltering there. You don't want to risk that. So if you're not going to fully commit and say, okay, I trust him, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, fool me thrice. I feel like I should just get out of the game. Fool me 4 times. We need to move on. Do not waste this opportunity, because you can still get quite a bit back for him in a trade, I believe. If you can play it right. That's a big poker face. That's like and that's
I hope you can fix him. That's a hair Columbus. I don't think there's anything to do in Columbus. Here you go.
But you don't tell Columbus that. You go like, hey, Columbus, you remember this guy? He scored more goals than Connor McDavid in last year's postseason. You want him? Oh, by the way, he's still not over. Like, it's bad. Like, I feel dirty thinking about it, but I just know, like, in business situations, when a lot of money is on the line, this organization, it's cutthroat. It is a business. There is no doubt that I feel like there would be a little bit of mind games, a little bit of poker face. Oh, hey, you want to take him? Yeah, I know he scores a lot of goals, but our guys just can't get over the fact of what he did to us the last 2 seasons. But I feel like he's better. Like they'll definitely try and play something like that.
We'll see.
If that is to be the case.
The best situation for the Colorado Avalanche is Valeri Nichuskin suiting up and playing that first line / second line wing. And because when he's good, he's very, very good. Look, that's the ultimate goal of all of this still. So he gets better because of how good he is, and how good, not only how good he is, how well he fits in this team. So the overall arching thing is, like I said, for him to get better and be the guy still.
All right, let's talk about some big things that are happening here in Denver, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. The UFC is back where it all began. They're coming to Colorado Ball Arena. I'm going to get the fights pulled up here, but the main card, Rose Namajunas, she has a stand-in against
Tracy Cortez.
Tracy Cortez. There we go.
Yep.
I got the card pulled up.
Unfortunately, Macy Barber, a girl that's fought out of here a couple times. Rose, obviously, I think fights out of here as well. Had to pull out due to injury, so we get Tracy Cortez. And look, it kind of sucks. It's not a great card. It's not like
Santiago Ponzinibbio doesn't do anything for you.
Ponzinibbio, I bet you heard good things about Dober, Colorado guy. Excited to see him.
I've heard about Brundage before. He's an underdog, but I've heard his name.
Yeah, these are. Yeah, it's
Damon Blackshear.
Yeah, that's a creative name on NCAA football. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it's not the best card. Don't get me wrong, but look, it's exciting to see the fights. I'm very excited to see some of the Colorado guys and good girls go to war and like I said, it's always a great time being at a UFC event. I will say, like I said, I've been to a handful of UFC events, main event cards, and I've been to a few small show UFC, or not UFC, but MMA, mixed martial arts, smaller events as well, and a cage too. And I will say it is one of the best viewing experiences you'll ever find. Between the walkouts, it is wrestling with the entrances, and it is some of the best mixed martial arts and fighting, hand-to-hand, one-on-one combat you'll ever see. And I am obviously a bigger fan of MMA as opposed to boxing because of how poor boxing has become recently. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to see back where it all began. It should be very, very exciting.
It's like I said, it leads perfectly after the PLL games. It's all on ESPN. It's taking place Saturday. Namajunas, the big favorite. Dober, also the favorite that we talked about. Christian Rodriguez, another guy that I've heard kind of tied around here. There will be some names, and if you're going out there, if you're downtown, I feel like downtown's going to be buzzing because it's been a while. I can't remember the last time that they've been here for a fight night or for a pay-per-view.
2018 it was. It was the 25th.
First time since
it was the 25th, or it was the 25th anniversary of the UFC, and they came back here for another fight card. And unfortunately, we were both in college, so I was not able to go to that. So
yeah, no, you went to a bigger event, so I don't feel like you can be that upset.
Yeah, I had to go to a few more fun events. I will say.
Yeah, a lot more fun events. I excited to. I don't know if I'll watch. I'm going on a road trip this weekend to Badlands with my cousin. We're going up to Badlands, South Dakota, that national park. Then I think also the Black Hills. We're doing a couple cave tours. So I will probably be back in a hotel room. Probably be drinking some beers by then. But I am going to be exploring a little bit. I got that wild hair in me a little.
I don't hate it because I definitely do too. But yeah, I'll be in attendance. I'll be with my dad and my dad's jiu-jitsu guy to coach, or jiu-jitsu coach, and who I think he's cornering Dober this weekend with a couple other Colorado guys. So I'll be in attendance, and like I said, I'm very, very excited to be there. And like I said, it's fun. It's bloodshed. It's war. It's gladiators. It's the closest we'll ever get to fights to the death situation. Fortunately. So yeah, like I said, I don't hate you for that. That being a traveler, it's one of the fun things about my job. I'll tell you that much. So seeing different things. I don't know if I put South Dakota on my list of places. I have been to South Dakota, but I'm not putting it on my top of my list of places that I need to go see right now.
When you go to school in the mountains, like it's my place.
I don't know. I just feel like Bozeman or Missoula or there's some pretty places in Idaho.
That's far. This is 6.5 hours, and it's 2 national parks right in the middle. And maybe I go to Mount Rushmore because I've never been. I played football in South Dakota every other year in college.
You're an English teacher, so I think that'd be a history teacher, which I feel like still works.
That's partially why I'm going on this too. I was reading, and that's why my cousin suggested it. I think he works in sand dunes now. And I think he's looking to see if he wants to move out there, possibly, or if that's even a possibility. But I was reading a Lakota Indian history book, and he's like, oh, cool. Yeah, no, I told the guys that I work with today at lunch, if you needed any more reality that I'm pretty dorky and like I have kind of a nerdy family.
Like, hey, I've had Shark Week on my fucking TV screen since I got home from Boston. Okay, so I'm just as weird as you. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't hate it. We just have our different niches, and we have a lot of same niches. But like I said, just don't steal the Declaration of Independence when you go to Mount Rushmore. That's all I'll say.
Is that where it is? I haven't actually ever seen that.
it's
I
not.
told the guy I'm gonna ride a bison home. I'm gonna be the first person to tame a buffalo, and I'll ride it home.
I just know that I think that's where it was stored in the National Treasure. I don't remember the movie off the top of my head. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I know that's where Nicolas Cage went to. And I remember him going in there and finding something. I don't know if it was the Declaration of Independence, but it was. I know it was part of the same movie. Okay, don't hate me, people that love that movie. Don't hate me.
All right. I think with that, be sure to follow at FEOTB Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like I said. Tell your friends. Rate 5 stars. All that good stuff. We'll be back again next weekend, getting ready for Olympics. We also have 4-year anniversary coming up. We're inching ever closer to episode 200. So as soon as football starts coming back, we're going to have some other things that we're needing to celebrate. And then I'm back in school.
I'm itching, Jimmy. I'm itching for football now. I don't know. Maybe it's because college football is coming out next week. And be honest with you, we're going to have to schedule our podcast around of when we have time to not play. So all I'm going to say is this. Like, I am itching for some football back. Fantasy football drafts are coming up. I have it. I have the feeling of it's the right before things get going where the hope is starting to come up for my team, and the hope is starting to get. Oh, you know what? We could be the third best team, or maybe the second best team in our division. Maybe we could just compete a wild card, and then for the fall, it's a fucking plummet becoming November. So I have that little bit of hope, that the little edge in the straight flat line of being a football fan, where I'm like, oh, wait, we may have a chance, or maybe he'll do something. Maybe Bo Nix is good. Maybe football's fun again, and then it's just gonna all come crumbling down in November. But I can have a little bit of hope because it's July.
Well, and the game is coming out next week. I'm pre-ordering mine later today once we get off the show.
I already have a pre-order, and I got the 3-day early whatever thing is. So I will be playing that every second of the day. I think starting Monday is the release.
No, the 16th. The 16th is the early. The 19th is the original. Who are you starting your dynasty with?
Oh, I have a couple options. One, look, I don't want to do CU. That just seems like the team's too good.
You got to work your way to CU.
I got to work my way to CU. I have gone a couple different routes. Number one, I think the U would be sick to rebuild. Obviously, I love the U, Miami. I'd like being able to rebuild that. I think would be sick. I obviously have a lot of ties going back to the U, and you and I both growing up. I love them, and for whatever reason, I was a fan of them. So, so that would be a fun one. I've thought about the shot at Wyoming. I think Wyoming would be sick. Be an interesting one. I've also thought about some of the California teams, maybe the smaller Cals or along those lines. But yeah, maybe CSU. CSU could throw into play, but I have been a CU family guy for my whole life, so it's a little bit difficult for that. But yeah, I don't hate it. I might create a team. I've seen already mock-ups of creative schools, and someone already made a GCU mock-up, so I may just do that and be in Arizona then have that. So because my school doesn't have a football team, so maybe that's the thing I do. But right now, leading candidates are Miami, Wyoming. There was another one. Coastal Carolina, because I love their uniforms. Those are the two. Maybe I do Boston College too, because of when I was there.
I've done a Boston College one before.
So I would not hate doing a Boston College one. That's probably the only East Coast, or maybe Northeast. Maybe one of those lacrosse schools. Maybe Syracuse or something. I did love Syracuse growing up too. Obviously wearing a fucking Syracuse shirt. So yeah, that's my short list. But the leading candidate is Miami because my heart still has some love there.
Yeah, I think. Well, I normally start even lower. I get what you're doing because those are programs that do need to be rebuilt. I normally start as offensive coordinator on like a MAC team. So the last few times that I've started a new one, I've been offensive coordinator for Northern Illinois, like the one I have on my PlayStation 3 right now. Jared Bednar is in his 14th season. Yeah. And he wears the suit on the sidelines too. Of course, he wears the suit. Yeah. 14th season, but I started as the offense coordinator at Northern Illinois, got the head coaching job there, moved a couple different places, but like I might do. There's even more smaller teams in this new one that's coming out, and I've also done one where I started as Western Colorado, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Northern Colorado will be in there too. Also,
I feel like they will be, but if Northern Colorado's on my screen, it's me whooping the shit out of them.
That's also fair. That's also
fair. Can't. I don't know what it is. I just don't like.
You'll not see me using University of Arizona or ASU. That there's zero chance of that. So, or Nebraska, to be 100% honest with you. I don't know what it is. It just isn't. I'm sorry, Will Thompson. It's just not going to happen.
All right. We'll definitely be playing get the NCAA game. We'll maybe figure something out. I do want to start streaming. I need to stop being lazy and get the setup. But that's what. If you're a girlfriend out there and you decided, I'm going to be nice and buy my boyfriend. You have a week, but I'm going to be nice and buy my boyfriend this video game because then he's going to owe me. Oh, honey, he owes you. He owes you. You're just going to have to wait a long time for that to actually be cashed in on because he's not leaving the screen or the couch.
You have a week. You have a week for to have a life. So to have your boyfriend or have your significant other around is all I'm gonna say.
You better make sure they show up to work because they will. Do not underestimate the number of people that are just gonna sit in their basement and not come out for like 4 days.
That's the best part about working from home, isn't it now, Jimmy? I can start early and finish early and just be ready, pause on that, and then be ready and just be on the game from 4 o'clock till midnight. So yeah, we're gonna be getting through some seasons, is all I'm gonna say.
And you need to now because there's gonna be more games coming out. It's not like this is the last one that we have.
I don't know. Like I said, after what Madden's fucking hosed me over the last couple years, and I think this may be the one-trick pony where I just ride this to the death, and like NCAA 14 was, because that's just where we are with this game. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to get
we're so traumatized. We've been so hurt.
I'm not expecting a new game. I'm just not expecting a new game. I can't. It'd be nice. It'd be a nice, cool thing. But with how fucked Madden has ruined me for loving it, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I am just going to love this game and ride it till literally the game breaks.
10 years. Everybody rejoice. All right. Episode 188 of the Far End of the Bench podcast for myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host, Niko Bryant. Thank you, everybody, very much for tuning in live. We will be back next week.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.